Everyone is creative.
A creative life requires bravery and action,
honesty and hard work.
We're here to support and celebrate.
And encourage you to make the things that you love.
We believe in the power of community.
We believe in giving a damn. We believe in face-to-face connections.
And learning from others.
In hugs.
And high fives.
We bring together people who are driven by passion and purpose.
Confident they will inspire one another.
And inspire change in neighborhoods and cities around the world.
Everyone.
Everyone is welcome.
So, this month's theme, and this is such a cool little video, or GIF, or whatever. Is it GIF or GIF? I never know. It's been 20 years and I still don't know how to say it. Our theme for May is Create, chosen in collaboration with our global partner Adobe and illustrated by Anna Grigorovici, which I Googled how to say that name earlier this morning. There we go. Beautiful, right? Okay, so we're gonna get into the speaker who's patiently waiting here. We're host. We're not excited, we're host. No, we're excited to host renowned photographer, creative technologist, and community builder, Kris Krüg. I do have a little bit of a personal story about Kris, although he doesn't really know it. Well, he kind of does. I started journalism school J school in 2008, and at the time the industry was like imploding. It imploded even further after that, but even the first day of class, one of the profs was like, "You're not getting a job," just so you guys know. And me being, defiant and thinking I could do it all, I was like, "Screw you, Mark, I'm totally gonna get a job." But, he wasn't entirely wrong, but he wasn't also entirely right, and I've navigated my way through this stuff as it moves. At the time, Twitter was like super taking off, if you remember that. And this thing called citizen journalism was a buzz, which was just people telling the stories, reporting on what's happening in the world, not necessarily tied to a media outlet. So one of the people we would literally talk about in class was Kris Krüg. Like, it was a discussion point on several occasions, like, what is Kris Krüg doing? Because at the time he was like incredibly prolific in this space, like constantly posting something. You probably recall, yeah. And I think it's indicative that he's always been a little bit ahead of the game and the curve. So in a way, I've been kind of watching his career for 18 years or so, but we only actually met last month here. So it's kind of I don't know, it feels a little kismet, the first event I'm hosting happens to be with him. So hopefully most of you have read his bio and profile already, so we'll skip that. You can do that online if you want to. There's also an interview you should definitely check out. It's really fun and insightful. But here are a few things you may not know about him. I'm going to say your name properly. Kris built his creative muscle by publishing in public, which I can attest to, long before it was normal. He says he put 130,000 plus photos out under Creative Commons before Creative Commons was cool. Then posted the work the same day and let the community argue, iterate, and improve it with him, which I think is what caught people's attention. He once cold pitched National Geographic from a hotel parking lot, got a yes, then drove 4 states solo to photograph the BP oil spill, which must have been devastating, sleeping in his car before presenting the work at TED oil spill soon after. Kris's parents are here, as we've already noted, and they post travel stories and reviews on their travels, so the apple really doesn't fall far from the tree. We've got a family of communicators here. And on the stage, Kris is real, but it's also a deliberate performance, which I can totally relate to. He calls himself a hard introvert who recharges by going silent on Galiano Island for days with no Wi-Fi and no people. That sounds great. Please let me know how you do that. So with that, let's welcome the incomparable Kris Krüg to Creative Mornings.
Good morning. I was born at home in my parents' bed. They were 19 years old. They were a part of a close-knit religious community that had a really unique perspective on the world. no doctors. God was the great healer, natural births, and inside this community, creativity wasn't really held up in the same way that I understand it to be now. In fact, a lot of creative people were called worldly, and that wasn't something that you wanted to be. It meant that was like a path to not follow, a path that took you away from the source. And when I was about 2 years old, I had croup, and I was really sick, and my parents took me to the doctors against the guidelines of their community, and were ostracized for that. And that culminated in some opportunities for my dad out west, and my family left the religious cult and started life out west, becoming the first California Krugs. And that's where I come from. As I said, I grew up not knowing any creative professionals. And yet I felt a creativity in my soul. I played trumpet, I would write, I would draw. I used to draw Bo Jackson and Michael Jordan over and over and over again because these were in the kind of like safe world of secular culture. And but I didn't have a map, but I was creative. And so it was when I was about 18 years old that I met a guy who was working as a graphic designer. And I looked up to him and I started to model his behavior. It was the first guy that I knew that was working as a creative professional, that had turned his creativity into a practice and had dedicated space and was leaning into it. And he was also a Christian guy who went to my Trinity Western University. And so that began the process of me understanding, a bit of an epiphany that you could make your way in the world being creative. Yet without this map, I didn't find my medium until much later. About 25 years ago, my son was born, my son Judah, while I was living in California. And he was very sick from the day he was born. He faced a host of medical complications. He almost died so many times. He almost died during childbirth. He got taken to the Stanford University neonatal intensive care, where he spent a month on life support. We were only really able to take him home when we could convince the doctors that we could feed him through his nasal gastrinal tube. But living in the hospital for a month was impossible, so we needed to get him home. So we took the steps, got him home. It was a very, very hard time in my life. It brought me to my very knees. I was 25 years old. I had a healthy child, Sierra, who was 2, and I was married, living in California with a high-powered job. And it really rocked my world. And it was in this time, this company I was working for was not doing that well financially, and we couldn't hire the photographer, the graphic designer guy that I liked, that I was telling you about. And so I just went out one day and I bought a camera, and I used it to make the corporate headshots and executive shots during the day. But that camera ended up being my lifeline. It gave me an excuse to leave the house on the weekend where I was just drowning in despair. It really, the creative light inside me had gone out. But this camera got me out on the streets of San Francisco, taking pictures of people, connecting with them again, and just giving me an outlet where I could hold my grief up to the light instead of just sit there with it in the dark, sitting around waiting to die at 25 years old. This is around the time that social media revolution is taking off, and I got to know Stuart Butterfield from Flickr. And one of the photos of my sick son and his disfigurements around his face from some of the treatments he had received and stuff was the Flickr homepage for like a decade. And all around the world, people would come up to me and talk about the Flickr kid. And this was like the first time that I really realized that this whole creative professional thing, it wasn't about marketing, it was about connection and about healing. And so I leaned in, as we were talking about earlier, to the moment, and I started publishing photos every day on Flickr. I got out in the world every day with my camera. I'd come home and I'd edit them, and I'd get them up and online, and I'd respond to the comments, and I ended up with 145,000 high quality photos on Flickr. These are portraits, events, all sorts of things. And what this allowed me to do was to give my work away for free and have my name attached to it, and to cultivate a bit of an eye over time by posting things and then letting the world respond to them, responding to the comments and seeing where it went from there. Oh, I forgot to say that I had to give Judah CPR 20 times. The very first time he had a seizure, we didn't know what was going on because you don't get a manual with your sick kid or whatever, right? He just drops and stops moving. And I grabbed his mom was out with her friends, and I grabbed my daughter and said, let's put Judah in the car. We're going to Oakland Children's Hospital. As I get him out there, I'm like trying to strap a little limp blue baby into a car seat, and I'm realizing, we're not going to make it if we drive to the hospital. So we head back inside and start giving him rescue breathing, and this became our routine. I got to do this like 20 times to keep him alive, and so this is what's building. I'm trying to keep it together at work, and keep family together, and it was like a really, really intense period. And so this was where I found my healing, was like making photos of people, getting them out there into the world, and sharing that stuff. I also found a paradox here. So I got criticized a lot by real photographers at this time who were saying, I'm breaking the whole business model by making photos, putting them for free on the internet, putting them in high resolution, and attaching this Creative Commons license that allows you to use my work without asking me for whatever you want, as long as you reference the original image and link back to the source and credit me, and then release your own work under that same license that allows other people to do the same. And so I was helping artists understand, and creatives understand, how by giving our work away, finding our voice, and building our audience, we could build the creative professional practice of our dreams. And that was what I was going around the world doing at this point. Now, I want to give you a little framework as we kind of start to get into the AI era, because this thing that we're doing is not that new. I've been seeing it throughout art history. So you've had the Dada movement, where people took newspapers and were cutting them up and invented this kind of new collage style that took these corporate machines and turned them on themselves to critique, mainstream culture and politics and what was going on in the world. You've got the punks, that took Xerox machines and mimeographs and started putting out zines and music reviews, and taking these corporate machines at work or stealing time at Kinko's and co-opting the airwaves, seizing the means of media production to put their stories out into the world. In Jamaica, you saw the Selectors, the DJ dance hall movement, where all of a sudden being a musician wasn't as important as knowing which two songs to mix together to grab the mood and the spirit of the room, how to lead people through energetic flows around music. And all of a sudden this idea of remix came up. And then that culture shipped its way to America, and we get hip hop. 2 turntables and a microphone. Things weren't meant to be that way. That was weirdos figuring it out, taking advantage of these new technologies, new machines, and putting their messages into the world. And now we've got AI, the great remix engine of all time. And we're going to talk a little bit more about this as we get down the road here. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about taste here. So, taste is more than just a personal intuition. It's a bit of like a social pulse. And it's really, I think, what is the safe space for us creatives as we enter into this AI era. We talk a lot about judgment and taste and critical thinking, and what is it that we really have to say out there in the world being more important than maybe the act of media creation itself. I'm a little bit nervous because I've been coming to this event for 15 years. I love this event. I love this community. I love Mark. And it means a lot to be here in front of so many friendly, familiar faces, and to be able to stand up here and tell my story. And as you know, you're here, and it's a pretty personal story. So thanks for being with me. It's a little bit nervous. Yeah. Okay. So what I want to talk about here is the development of my taste through Flickr. So Flickr allowed me for the first time ever to put photos out every day, have people, before I get there, think about the traditional way of developing taste in the creative professions. As a photographer, I would have had to shoot a roll of film, get it developed, have it be published in my magazine, have that magazine make it out to the news shelves, somebody reads it, gets inspired, or maybe they hate it, they write a letter to the editor, that thing gets published, eventually I get the magazine with the letter, the editor, the comments in it, and the loop could take, 6 months or more. And then Flickr comes around, and all of a sudden, I'm able to share photos, receive feedback, learn from that feedback, and then go out and iterate the very next day. And I think that this digital inspired looping allowed me to kind of like shortcut the pathway to mastery by like 10 years, I think. I feel like it used to take you 15 years to iterate over and over again, develop this taste and intuition and personal style, critical thinking and judgment, but that the Flickr cycle really allowed me to shortcut. I think I got there in like 5 years, And so then we're facing all this AI stuff that moves so quickly, where we have the ability to, use agent swarms to develop 1,000 new ideas in 1 second and stuff. And so it makes me wonder, what the role of AI is in the looping process as it comes to developing judgment and taste and critical thinking. It's not really about speed, though, because speed without judgment, a whole bunch of ideas without critical thinking or taste is just noise, really. I think about like a dude with a leaf blower just moving the mess around out there, like just turning gasoline into noise without really doing much work. That's AI, and that's speed without refined critical thinking and taste and judgment. So I've been looking to ways to use the looping cycles of AI to develop many ideas, and then to use my intuition and judgment to figure out which of those to share with the world. In fact, my favorite thing to do when I meet a new creative is to look through their notebook or their sketchbook, their journal. Because I feel like the stuff that is on the cutting room floor or your journal, the stuff that you choose not to show, really says as much about your creative perspective, maybe even more, than the work that you do show. It's like, why did you show me that? What do you have to say with this? What is it all about? And then why did you not choose all of this stuff? I don't know if you've ever bought expensive graphic design, but when you buy expensive graphic design, they spend probably 90% of their time showing you all the ideas they didn't choose before they finally show you the idea that they think is the right solution. And so this is what I'm talking about here, is like, in the AI age, where almost everything is possible at a level of near perfection, what you choose to do with your time and what you chose to show with the world is the most important thing. Like, you can do anything, you can make films, you can make music, you can turn anything into anything, but why do it at all, and why are you going to share that with the world, and what did you leave out to get us here? I find my relationship with AI pretty non-consensual. I think all of us do. I'm watching a fucking bloodbath out there as AI comes for one creative industry after another. It's like journalists, designers, photographers, filmmakers, none of us are safe. And I think you probably see it. And yet I think that there's a bit of a paradox here to be embraced. Almost every AI conversation that's happening out there asks you to fall into one of these two camps. On the one side of the equation, you've got the boosters. These are the people that are like, yo, get on board. You don't get to choose AI, AI chooses you. We're going somewhere. Resistance is futile. Get with the program, loser. On the other side, you've got people with deep values, the resistors, people who are saying, what about the power and water usage? What about the bias that's embedded into the system? What about the ethics of all this, And I think both of these perspectives are lazy. The booster perspective doesn't take any of the societal implications or any of the cost into account. It doesn't really tell us what to do about the impacts upon our lives and society and changes. And this camp doesn't really give us a map to the future. You can fall asleep with your values intact, but it doesn't really tell you what to tell your teenager when they come to you and say, what career should I get into? What jobs are safe in the future? Where do I go with all this? And so I think that the real answer is in the middle. And we as creatives, you know that two-dimensional characters aren't interesting, that, you know, the most difficult path, the gray area is probably the right one. Well, look at that. I left my notes in. I'm just gonna move on. How fascinating. Flossom. What I'm asking for and what I'm doing is I'm walking forward with both hands full. I encourage us to hold on to those critiques and those challenges, those things that aren't right about these tools, and walk forward with those in one hand. And in the other hand, to embrace the curiosity and the capabilities and the creativity that can be unlocked by this stuff. And I don't think that that's necessarily a contradiction, but it is complicated. It is a paradox. And I think our ability to hold the critique in one hand allows us to lean heavier into the curiosity on the other side as well. And I want to talk a little bit about that critique. I want to break it down a little more. And this is where actually there's going to be a chance for you all to talk here for a second. And so, what are those things that are the problems with these AI systems that are keeping us from wanting to engage? You know, what are those concerns that really hit home for you guys? You know, I put up here a couple of the ones that I'm worried about. I mean, AI came in and kicked the whole table over around that Creative Commons model. All the openness that I was known for and I used to build my career, it exploited that, stole all my photos regardless of the Creative Commons license, trained its models on them. There's a tool called haveibeentrained.com, and I went and checked it out to see how many of my photos had been used in it. I found 1,800 photos, more photos than any other individual contributor in the NVIDIA facial recognition data set. The thing that NVIDIA is distributing with all their GPU cores has this facial recognition data training set, and 1,800 of those faces are mine. They didn't ask, they didn't pay me. They put me into complications with my subjects. I took pictures of Mark with the implicit consent to put those online and share them. But but how do I get permission for that? I didn't ask you if NVIDIA could train models 20 years in the future on your face or whatever, right? And so it brought up all these ethical challenges for me and stuff. But what are some of I just kind of want you guys to shout them out if you feel like it. What are some of your beefs with AI or the things that are keeping you from embracing it more? Water usage. Environment, water power, yeah, exactly. Jobs, someone said? Job loss. Yeah? Say it again? Wrong answers. You don't trust it. Untrustworthy. Lack of dialogue. What do you mean? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. I also am worried about surveillance and data collection and consolidation of power into a few corporations or government's hands. Someone in the back. Soulless. What do you mean, Chad? Would you give me some water? Dead inside, yeah. Yes, sir. And it devalues the end product because you didn't take the natural steps to get there. You shortcut it along the way.
I think you just make less of a specific product that's for you. You're more just stealing from someone else.
Right. Yeah. Yes.
Closed loop validation.
What's that?
That means like, oh yeah, you're right. You're so right.
Oh my God, you are right, Aura. I know what you mean. You're right. Yeah. Yeah. Just the average of the most pablum, vanilla, internet, everything with. Yeah, totally. Thanks, Summit. Yes, please.
I think to add to that, the compression from the bottom is kind of impressive, but it limits it.
We unpacked that a little bit. She said holler it too. So the compression from the bottom is, and then,
So compression from the bottom is impressive. So it lets people who don't know what they're doing do it better, but it's not really facilitating like people who know what they're doing to also do better. So it's limiting.
yes? Cognitive decline. Are we getting stupid by making the machines do the thinking for us? Or like, what is the implication of using our brains in completely different ways than we ever have before?
Yeah, so on that imposter syndrome, like increasing it, feeling as a human that you're not smart enough to do things and all the robots are doing everything.
Yeah, totally. Imposter syndrome, yeah. Like, what is the role of a creative professional when the machines are good at making synthetic everything? Anything else someone didn't hear they want to get out? Zoe?
Regurgitation and pure memorization and extrusion of content, rather than having like a deeper understanding, be able to create a remix in a more deeper way.
Yeah, totally.
Just like the word artificial to me, I just don't like it. I think of like, what's the opposite of the word artificial? Genuine, authentic, real. So artificial is the opposite of all of those things.
Yeah.
That's that kind of instant not wanting to go there.
Holler it.
Trying to piggyback off this, one time I asked a question and said, in my honest opinion, comma, human to human, comma, and then answered my question. This wasn't necessary and not true.
Basically industrialized plagiarism.
Plagiarism. Industrialized plagiarism. Any other ideas that haven't come up yet? Yes, ma'am.
There's this kind of waterboarding of information, so instantly it can feel like a confirmation bias that but everyone around me is seeing this, but it could just be the same daddy company being like, actually, like there's just this saturation.
Yeah, that's kind of like what Aura was saying, and also, but one that's been revealing itself to me lately is like a lot of people say it makes like work faster, more productive, but I've also found it makes it a lot more intense, like stressful. Like I've got all these feeds of all this stuff coming at me all the time, and so yeah, it might pick up the pace, but it also makes it a lot more intense. Yes, sir.
I did some leadership amongst
Holler it out.
I did some leadership amongst a bunch of youth, and I was shocked to discover that they all felt, even though they could use it for cheating on homework, that it was like profoundly inauthentic for young people.
Yeah, man, in classrooms and teachers, and we're in a real conundrum with what to do, how to use it, and how to change assessments so we can actually tell if there's learning taking place and what the new role is of a teacher in these kind of, personalized coaching environments and stuff. It's a real conundrum. Anyone else? Yes?
The connection that we have with each other because we ask AI instead of our friends.
Yeah. Losing human connection. Anyone else? Joy? Did you guys both talk at the same time? Okay, but I do want them both. You said Joy. Would you say, tell me what you mean?
Joy in the creative process.
The parts you like of being creative have now been extrapolated into a machine?
Yeah, just the feeling.
The vibes.
Loss of history.
How so? Tell me about that. Loss of history, she said.
Just for somebody that's studied like all different creative processes over the years and tried to understand from one culture to another, how they influence each other, and seeing those pathways and those journeys, and to have all of that lost and have kids like have no idea where something is coming from or what it's referring to. It's like everything is decontextualized.
Decontextualization of stories and history. Anything else? Okay, well, I think all those things are true. And I think we should keep them on our mind. In fact, I'll go even a step further. We talk about a bias in these systems. I think we need to break that down. We're not just talking about some mathematical operation that trends in the wrong direction sometimes. We're talking about misogyny, racism, class division, homophobia, transphobia, all distilled down into these systems. Like, this is what's inside of its brain. And so you're lucky if you're getting generic outputs out of it, because a lot of people are getting, very, party line, white American male perspectives out of it. In fact, Dr. Joy Bellamini from MIT, who I look up to a lot, she started the Algorithmic Justice League. Her research shows that in facial recognition algorithms, like the NVIDIA data set that my photos are in, if you're a woman with dark skin, 35% false positives on facial recognition. If you're a man with white skin, 1% false positives. Those false positives result in arrests, in pullovers, in all sorts of kind of invasive policing actions. We're talking about a big deal here. So baked right into the system, you're 35 times more likely to get falsely accused of something via facial recognition if you're a brown woman than you are if you're a white man. These things are really real. So I think it's important to break that down, to name the harms. Don't just say AI is scary, but say, what are we scared about? Don't just say AI is biased. What biases are in there? And yet, I don't think that we can have all the most critical voices in the room leave the table. We need you at the table. So it's like, if the most critical, the most skeptical people out there, I encourage you to roll up your sleeves, learn the vocabulary, and command a seat at the table of the future, lest you leave all the decision making to the people in the booster camp, the venture capitalists, the software developers, and the people disconnected from that right hand of holding it to critique and account. And here's the difficult paradox I'm going to ask you to sit with today, which is, despite all those things that we all said that I think are right, I'm more creative, I'm more powerful, and I'm more productive than I've ever been in my whole life. Both of those things are true. And that's a pretty uncomfortable position for me to be in. I want to talk a little bit about how we can reclaim some of those things back in our direction, how I think creatives can find a way to engage with it on terms that allow them to move forward. So AI is pretty interesting once you start getting the values out of your head and your heart and into the world. Things like your taste, like your decision-making process, like your judgment and your critical thinking abilities. Well, how do we do that? Well, I'm recommending you make 3 documents that I'll call like your portable personality briefcase or something like that, you know? And it's like something like this, a personal AI policy. You should write one today. This is like, here's what I think about AI, here's what I want it to do, and here's the things I don't want it to. I don't want it to steal the joy out of my creative process because I love this step of it or whatever. I don't want it to talk about bias without claiming that bias is misogyny, racism, homophobia, transphobia, whatever. Like, this is where you tell the AIs what you want it to do and what you want it to back away from, and have that be that's your creative spirit. Style guide. This is like what you'd make like a brand usage guidelines for your, or a ghostwriter document. Like, a lot of times I say to AI, take a look at my last 10 years of blog posts. I'm hiring a ghostwriter next week, and I'd like to give them my grammar, sentence uses, glossary, anti-glossary, all the vocabulary words they'll need to write just like me. Analyze all these blog posts and come up with a document. You can take that to visuals if you want. You can show it your portfolio. You can say, describe my visual style to an art director. You can grab that document, save that, put it alongside your AI policy, your writing style guide. And then this one's really fun, the worldview and values document. And this is why it's really important to get this stuff out, is because of all that bias we were talking about before. So this is where you aren't talking about how you say things, but you're talking about the why, where it comes from. What do you believe? Why do you believe those things? And a lot of this stuff, we don't have to start from scratch. A lot of us have, you know, a bunch of emails we've written, we've got, you know, research papers we've written for clients, proposals, different things where these things are trapped in there. How we speak reveals a lot of our values, and these things can be analyzed by the AIs, turned into these documents, and then reattached to pretty much every conversation that you have. You'll improve the interactions you have with AI by like 1,000% simply by making these 3 documents. And then you can go from there and ask, you know, what else can I give this thing that will help it understand me better, my values better, be able to think like me, write like me, talk like me, and, you know, scaffold my work and stuff like that. So these are some of the most important things I think that you can do to take control of how the AI interacts with you today. I put 2,000 portraits in there when I was developing some of these documents. I said, analyze these portraits, tell me what my style is. Tell me more about, you know, what makes my portraiture unique. And when I got back the results, it was like looking at an aerial map of a city that I lived in my whole life, but I couldn't really see the forest from the trees. It talked about the way I cropped people's headouts to create intimacy with their eyes and stuff, and how that broke several conventions, and some of these things that I thought were creative intuition turns out were developed over years of looping and flicker and getting responses back, and then guiding myself towards the things that people were responding to or that were beautiful. So this is a lot of fun, actually, feeding your corpus of creative materials into an AI and asking it to analyze it, asking it to write art school documentation curriculum based on your portfolio. I mean, you can really get creative with it here. And you'll be shocked at the things you find come out. And I also find that, like, someone in the back was like, don't trust the results coming out of it. And that's true, and a lot of results are kind of hard to verify, so but your own personal corpus, your own knowledge of yourself and your work, who knows it better than that? So it's like, this is a great way to get to know the personality of an AI, is to feed a bunch of your stuff into it, ask it to do some analysis, to tell you who you are, what you sound like to other people, and then audit its outputs, critique the outputs of it as it's reflecting upon you, and then you're kind of like getting to know how it thinks. We started a nonprofit association called the BC AI Ecosystem, and a bunch of you in here are members. We're a bunch of people that see this bloodbath out there and that are coming together, recognizing that we can't look over the horizon right now. It's more difficult than ever to see exactly what's coming, but there is an accelerating pace of change that seems to be coming our direction that's kicking over the table of our careers and our industries. And so we've come together, a bunch of creative, curious people have come together to explore this. And the way it really started was like, there's way too much stuff in the AI world coming out all the time to kind of keep your head around it all yourself, but you can go down a rabbit hole, learn a bunch of stuff, figure it out, report back to kind of the group chat or the community. And if you're in a relationship with a whole bunch of other people that are doing the same, this small, trusted network of other people that share your values and share your perspective seems to be a key, like, resiliency tool that we can build to face whatever challenges are coming our way, even if we don't know what they are right now. We open our BCAI nights with Coast Salish song and welcome, and we often get some pretty beautiful stories out of it. My friend Anthony Joseph, who's a counselor for the Squamish Nation, opened it up recently, and he was talking about their carving tradition, and he said, well, my ancestors didn't have chainsaws at the time, but if they did, they definitely would have used them. And that made me think a lot about AI. It's like not exactly, it didn't exist when I started, but I don't think that our using of it or our experiment with it is, something that we should prohibit or feel bad about. I think that we're always going to be remixing the tools of our day, trying to figure out what it is we have to say and how we can best get that out into the world. And so I just love Anthony's story about the chainsaw. It makes me think a lot about AI. Let's talk about release day. I think this is really fun, and I'm going to participate in it. AI is a great way to unstick a half-done project. Here's what I think you should do if you're willing to accept. Build those 3 documents this weekend. A voice guide, a brand doc, an AI policy, and this worldview and perspectives doc. Then go find your stuck project. And let's bring that into AI and analyze it, but through the lens of these documents, and have it build you like a roadmap for the next 2 weeks of little daily sprints about how to take your half-done album from lyrics in your journal to a recorded thing on Bandcamp or something like that. So this is going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to do a project. I know Mark's going to unstick some stuff, and I encourage you as well to maybe take these AI lens and apply that to release day. And that might be what's unique about all the Vancouver submissions. Maybe they've got a unique, like, AI unstuck me angle or something like that to them. I've had this quote banging around since my youth pastor gave it to me probably when I was 10 years old. And we're going to do it together because it was a call and response. But this guy, Dr. Ronald Shaw from Calcutta, the PhD divinity guy, very buttoned up, bald head, 70 years old, he'd look at all of us youth and he would say, any dead fish can float down the stream, but it takes a live fish to swim against the current. And I've always really strongly identified with that. The currents are really strong right now, asking us to conform, to comply, to go in the same direction as everyone else. But I want to be a live fish, and I want to see a bunch of you all at the top of the waterfall. So if you guys don't mind, in the spirit of Dr. Ronald Shaw, I'll say, any dead fish can float down the stream, and you say, any dead fish can float down the stream, but it takes a live fish to swim against the current. But it takes a live fish to swim against the current. So I hope that sticks with you. It gets me through, you know, some tough times when it feels like everything's stacked up against you. And I want to throw out some thank yous here as well. I want to thank Dr. Joy Bellamwini from MIT. Her work is a huge inspiration of mine. The Algorithmic Justice League, you should definitely check her out. I'd like to thank Matt Lambert, who's in this room. He's been helping me a lot with my thoughts around looping and looping with AI. We're developing a whole methodology for creatives and designers about how they can apply this looping methodology to their work. Kevin Friel, close collaborator. Brett Gaylor, the director of RIP, A Remix Manifesto, my favorite film ever about this stuff. Cory Doctorow. Mark, thanks for hosting this for 15 years every month in a row, man. It's no joke. Mom and Dad, thanks for coming up here. Thanks for choosing your kid over the rules. I really appreciate you. And thanks for so many people from the community to come out and be here today. It's fun for me to share this stuff with you. It's obviously kind of intense to pull up under those rocks and see what's in there here again in the AI age, but I appreciate you being here, and I'll be back for some questions and answers. And I've got so much stuff to say about all these AI things, so just come find me. I got it online, different channels, lots of ways to consume that content. Thank you.
I'm going to take a little bit of privilege of having the microphone for a second and ask the first question, if that's okay. You talked at your event a bit about AI burnout, and I thought that was a really interesting topic. Can you kind of touch on that here?
Yeah, I mentioned it right there at the end of the fears thing, but so recently some of the study has been saying that the emotional cost on early adopters is pretty heavy, that a lot of the people that are the first to burn out right now are these people that are using this the most, and that it doesn't just, like I said, accelerate your work or accelerate your capabilities. Hey, what's up, Kris Quinn? Nice to see you, sir. But it actually intensifies it. It makes the work experience, those hours you're spending, a lot more intense. And so it's something we're keeping our eyes on. Like, they're running a grand experiment on all of us, making this stuff so ubiquitous so quickly and using us as the experimental playground. So we don't know really what the somebody said cognitive offloading or whatever. Are we going to get dumber? Are we going to lose our ability to start projects or ideate things? It's a grand experiment. I don't know.
We'll all see, but if you're feeling burned out, take a step back. Okay, who has questions? Who has questions? Yeah. See one.
Check, check. Sorry, I didn't mean to steal your mic.
Well, you need a mic.
Firstly, thanks so much for sharing today. Really loved the presentation. I was just curious, after all your years of being in the photography practice, all the things you've done creatively, you've stepped into a different world here. Are you still creating? What are you doing for yourself, your kind of passion project, your work? How are you using AI?
It's been like release year for me for the last 2 years. I'm unsticking all these projects that I had never done before. I just recently turned a keynote I gave at the Brazil World AI Film Festival with Ed here into a concept album about stolen work, where I played my trumpet, recorded my voice, and then had AI generate a bunch of stuff from my trumpet and my voice. I just delivered a photo shoot 2 weeks ago for Alexandra Samuel, a key thought leader and author, and instead of just giving her back the album of photos that she paid me for, I trained a Laura Flux model on her face, and then we started to generate all sorts of things that she had never thought of before. And so part of the deliverable was an album and an AI model that had used my style. It knew two things, her face and my style. So then it could create all the things we forgot about that day or hadn't thought of yet. Yeah, I mean, it's when I'm more creative, productive, and powerful than ever before, it's like design, video, photos, model training, a lot of things feel way more within my grasp. And I would even say, though, that the real ceiling I've smashed through is my technical limitations. So 2 years ago, you used to have to be like, yo, ChatGPT, write me some code for a website, and then you copy that into something else and be like, okay, now take this code and turn it into a website. Now all these agentic tools, you're just like, if you can tell the thing what you want and what your visuals are and what experience you want your user to have, it can just make anything, right? And so all of a sudden now I've got a GitHub repo with 5,000 commits in it on 40 different projects that I use as like the centerpiece of all my creative endeavors with all these AIs or whatever. So it's increased my breadth of creativity, but my depth of technical abilities that have really unlocked all those other things.
Very cool. And you used it to create those slides that you were, right? Yeah, that art. Yeah, very cool.
Which I hold up to you as an example. I feel like, you know, and I invite critique of it for sure, but someone said wisely that it helps people from the bottom get up, but it might not be helping from people who are already experts kind of extend themselves or whatever. But I feel like that's a cohesive, unique, novel visual style derived from my thoughts and my words, and I can now apply it in different places and carry it on. So I'm not just sitting there pulling the lucky slot machine generative AI handle. I have turned all my documents into these guardrails that now allow me to create in this sandbox and have everything that come out of there. I own the inputs and I own the outputs, and it feels and sounds like me. And so that's what I am offering you when I'm showing you that presentation, is that I do believe it's possible through some of these methods that I'm talking about to bring it into a place that we're a lot more comfortable putting our name behind.
Perfect. Okay, hands up who has questions. Okay, I'll go 1 and then 2 in the pink shirt.
Very quick question. You say you're more productive. Are you happier?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I mean, a big focus of what I've been doing here around my own explorations, curiosity and stuff is interacting with other people and trying to figure it out together. That's the whole build a posse slide. So I am way less isolated than I was before this era, because it's been so daunting that I've created this like learning community and this environment where I can share what's important to me with other people. And so I'm less lonely and less alienated, which I think makes me more happy.
Perfect. Okay.
Hello. Thank you for your talk. I have a question. Like, what the advice that you're giving, I think it makes a lot of sense because you have like the time to have built an established style. And
you're onto something important.
What
yes.
if they're like a new artist or an emerging artist and you haven't figured anything out yet? Like, you don't know what your style is. You don't know what your thing is, or like. Yeah, you haven't really figured that out yet. Like,
yeah.
What do you do?
I want to acknowledge the one thing you're saying, which is like those of us in our 40s and 50s who have this big corpus of work that we can analyze with AI are at an advantageous position vis-a-vis those of us who haven't been putting that outputted work into the world. But the same methodology is available to you, and you get to kind of shortcut the whole process because it's not going to take you years to get there. So if you recorded your own voice on your iPhone 15 minutes a day talking about creativity, creative explorations, imagination, your dream journal, why you write things down, all this kind of stuff, and at the end of the week analyze those 7 15-minute talks with AI, you're going to get very close to that writing style guide or that worldview document or the branding document that I'm going to get from my body of work. But you can just get it. Don't type it. Use your voice. Your fingers are a filter. They prohibit you from getting things truly flowing out of your head and heart and into the world. So that's what I would do if I was a young creative, is I would do release day, get something out quick, write about it along the way. Another thing that AI is really fucking good at is the parts of the projects we don't always love, like the documentation of something. So like, here's 10 drafts of a website and all the client feedback. Now document how we got from wireframe to prototype they hated to revised design. Talk to me about the decision making that took place along the way. Because if you can distill that thought process of decision making down into some words, then you can imbue that into other AI systems that you interact with too along the way. So just look to create a knowledge base with your voice by getting those things out of you that are important. She doesn't know what's going on with her microphone, and I saw your hand up.
What is the most fun tools that you're using right now with AI?
My on-ramp to it all, and still the one that I go back to all the time, is Midjourney. So Midjourney is an image generator, but it works a lot faster and a lot less marketing-y than than like ChatGPT or whatever. And my favorite thing to do with that one is to photograph reference of my own, literally walk up to my wall where there's a painting hanging that I've made, photograph that, do that 10 times, and then sit down with Midjourney, give it all my actual works, and then start to generate ideas like out of my dream journal or my therapy session or a meeting I had. You know, it's like snapshots, screenshots of old work plus new ideas revealed through voice result in new imaginative ideas quite easily. And then it's really fun to sift through them and find the good stuff. That's where you start getting to the looping, is like you take your docs, you take your voice, you barf a whole bunch of creative stuff into the world, and then you start to edit it down, iterate on it, what's worth advancing, like taking stills and turning them into videos, and then what do you do with those videos? So that's my favorite way to do it, is Midjourney.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I think we should wrap it up in the interest of time, because I know I always have to go somewhere, and I'm sure you guys do after this. Thank you, Kris. Thank you. Thank you. We want to thank Kris for this interesting conversation, an important one right now, and for sharing his talent, time, wisdom, and energy with the room, which is a good, formidable energy, right? I love it. Okay, one last round of applause. So, you are a creative force, and we are lucky to have spent this time with you. We have a special gift for you today as a token of our gratitude. One of our team, and today's presenting partner, is a woodworking artist named David Ives, who's standing over here. And he and his intern, Ruben, have made this beautiful engraving. I will get it, 1 second. Inspired by this month's global theme. So create. Is this the one for him? Yes, there we go. Okay. So yeah, we'd love to give this to you. There we go. Beautiful. Again, thank you, Alternative Creation Studio and our anonymous donor, for helping make today possible. You may have noticed we avoid the term sponsorship, which feels too transactional for us, instead embracing the notion of support partners who help us do this important work through a variety of means. We also want to thank this month's featured artist, the mysterious Grateful Chad, on Instagram. He wants to remain anonymous, but if you check out his feed, you'll likely see a bunch of artwork you recognize. And as always, a huge thank to our print partners, Mitchell Press, for printing the beautiful postcards you can all take home and mail to a friend. I'm slowly collecting all of these. So thanks so much to the CM volunteers, Creative Mornings volunteers. This is a generosity project inspired by the gift economy and 100% volunteer run. Can you give all our dedicated team a round of applause to show your appreciation? All the people around here. Perfect. Have a great day and a creative weekend, everybody. Thank you.